excited to be here. My name is Val Njoroge. I am the CEO and co-founder of Africa's Pocket. And I'd like to welcome those who are coming from the Africa's Pocket platform. I'd like to introduce Rina to you, who I'm so excited to be here with today. So for those who don't know, Rina is an amazing lady. She has written books. She's an investment director. She's generally an investment guru. And just getting into a little bit of what she's been able to achieve in her career, she is the founder of MoneyWise and RH Group, and she has written the book MoneyWise, and that was published in 2016. And she's a certified professional coach. She's a member of the ICF, and so she's worked with thousands of people to help them figure out their investment philosophies, help them reach their purpose and crystallize their aspirations. And currently she works as a director at Faida Investment Bank, which is one of the leading investment banks in Kenya. So I would like you guys to give her a hearty welcome, and we'll tell you a bit more about why we're here today, right after she says hi.
Thank you so much, Val. It's so good to see you. Hi there, everyone. I am so pleased to be here this evening, and I'm really excited to be doing this live video with Val Njoroge. Val is the co-founder of Africa's Pocket. She's also the CEO. And Val is young but has done so many things. Her career started at Morgan Stanley, and then after that she went to Dry Associates. She also handles special projects at Centum Investments Limited that you guys I'm sure have heard of, who've done great things. And now she runs Africa's Pocket, which is a platform that provides tools and contents for people who are looking to do anything and everything with their money, whether that's investing, trying to figure out whether to buy a car, how do you buy insurance, everything around money. Africa's Pocket does where education is concerned. So we are having this together to break some news to you, and we are really excited about that. So I'll hand back over to you, Val, and then we can move on to the next segment.
Awesome. So I'd like to start by just giving you guys a brief of why Africa's Pocket exists and why we're here together. You must be like, what are you guys doing here together? So I'll start with why we exist as Africa's Pocket. And for me, it really stems from the idea that growing up, you hear all this, you're given all these instructions, save more, earn more, make sure you get a good job. But nobody really gives you the guidelines of how to do it. So how much do you save? Where do you put it? What's a good return? What's a bad return? What is even a return, right? And so what typically happens is you hear all this advice, but you don't really have a way forward. So you end up making these subpar investment decisions. And the result is, in Kenya, for example, a lot of us feel like we're not making progress financially when you look at the statistics. And that's why we exist. Then looking at the alternatives. So the first place you get information is your family and your friends. The second place you get information is the internet. And when you look at the internet, what you get is a lot of information about how to invest in the US, in the UK, maybe even in China, but there's not a lot of information that's tailored to an African, and especially an African who doesn't have role models, so to speak. And a lot of us are sort of a first generation who make enough money to invest. So it's tough. You're hearing somebody telling you to talk to how to invest with the NYSE as the example. Yet there, the average company is $100 a share. And here in Kenya, our average company is about, 100 shillings a share. It's a completely different ball game. So that's where we exist. We really want to make sure that you have information that considers your context and that takes your circumstances into account. As Africans, we have different responsibilities, different things we're doing. So we really wanted to take you away from situational stories, anecdotes, and instructions to giving you more of guidebooks. And we've done this before. We have a few courses that have worked, and we've leveraged our expertise. Like Rina said, I have a background in investments and a few years of working with technology companies. And then we have also validated this by going to some of the world's best institutions to make sure that what we're telling you is not only practical, but also theoretically correct. And so now we're so excited to partner with experts like Rina to bring you even more of this kind of content and to allow people to go much deeper. You can't know everything. And Rina experience shows that she knows a lot about investing. So better for her to tell us than for me to go and try and figure out every single detail, right? So I'm super excited to announce that we'll be working on a course together where Rina will be going very deep into investments. She'll be giving details, getting extremely practical. And it's interesting that the journey started in October of 2019. So you can imagine how much work we've done to make this amazing. And I'd love to hear from you, Rina. Why are you doing this? Why are you putting a course together for people?
Yeah. So first of all, I am so passionate about helping people become unstuck where their finances are concerned. And because of a journey I went through myself, just making tons of mistakes, and also just interacting with others who I have sympathized with. You know, I've been in the investment field for over 17 years now, and interacted with so many different clients from so many different backgrounds, and actually wondered, where do people actually get information from to be able to make informed decisions with different investments? And so I started a journey a couple of years ago, I think 5 years ago now, wrote a book, I've written so much content and done videos. And I was like, you know what? I want to be able to help as many people as I can. Yes, I'm a certified coach, but how many one-on-ones am I going to have? Even if it's group sessions, I'm limited. And I felt that I'd like to take the time to put down content. And it's so interesting, you came into my life when I was trying to figure out how can I, because IT is not in my blood. Like I don't even know platforms, and you know, technology is just something I struggle with. And so when you reached out to me, it was so interesting that at that very time, I had actually already started conversations with other people, sort of to explore how can I have a platform that enables me to educate people as far and as wide as they are, and give them tools and practical examples that they can apply in their day-to-day lives based on the different experiences I've had, experiences of those I have worked with, and go deeper into helping people understand what to watch out for, what not to. You know, you find people who, I met a certain lady that I was coaching who was in her 60s, and I was trying to help her to put together a pension account for her that, you know, would serve her to retirement. And Val, would you imagine, this lady had taken time and invested, but the problem is that she spoke to an agent who worked at an insurance company. She had 3 insurance policies, 3 of them, and land in several places. And I was like, at this age, you need cash flow. Yeah. And so those sorts of stories make me feel so angry and break my heart, because I'm like, surely she should know. But really, the truth is, if there's nobody to teach you, then how will you know that sort of story? Or, I mean, the detail of what you need to do. And so when someone approaches you and says, there's this fabulous thing that such and such insurance company is selling, then you don't know and understand, how does it fit into my life and my plan and my goals and where I'm going. And so that's why I said yes. And that's why I'm so excited to be able to do this with Africa's Pocket. And guys, that's why we are here this evening, to announce that we are actually at the tail end of putting this course together. It's been over a year of back and forth and trying this and the other, and trying to figure out what content works and how to create even case studies that are helpful. And we are so excited to announce that Investable is the course that we are launching, is now born. And this is the first announcement that we are making publicly, to share that we have come together to put this course and to bring it forth to you. And we are so excited because we'll be launching it towards the end of March.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely the countdown. And like we said, we've been working on this for a long time, and today is really about you guys getting to know us better, getting to understand our philosophies, so that you can even understand, you know, sort of the approach we'll take within the course. And then, of course, there's quite a lot happening right now in the financial industry. There's been GameStop, there's been Tesla, there's been Bitcoin, there's been what? So people are very curious about investing, and we thought that this is a great opportunity to talk about it and to really get to hear, what are you guys wondering about? So before we get to your questions, I just want to segue the conversation a little bit to give it some foundation. And I'd love to start by asking you, Rina, what some of the misconceptions, the common misconceptions we hear about investing are. This is, you know, something we've talked about often, but I'd love you to tell us what you think as well.
Yeah. So I think the first misconception I find is people say, I have time. I'm only 27 or I'm only 30. I have so much time. And people sort of just push back the decisions and they're like, let me just enjoy what I have now. I'll eventually get there. But you and I know the truth is that the earlier you begin,
The better.
the better, the faster you get there with such little effort, because if you wait until you're 40 to begin, then you lose out on a lot of opportunity to compound your growth. I think the second misconception is I don't earn enough to invest, or I need a lot of money to be able to start. And a lot of people feel, unless I have 150,000 or 1,000,000 shillings, I can't begin investing. And yet, there's investment options that are available that even with 5,000 shillings, even 1,000 shillings, you can begin. And a lot of people get so shocked when I say that because they're like, what? With 1,000, there's something I can do with my money? I'm like, yes, there is. You can always start wherever it is that you are. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, you need an income. But as long as you have an income, there's an option for you. And then I think the third one for me, the most common one would be, I'm not cut out for this. Like somebody else who has been to school on an accountant or an investment banker or a stockbroker or somebody who's a financial analyst is the best person to handle my investments for me because I don't know and I'm not cut out for this. It's too challenging. It's too difficult for me to understand. So those would be my three.
It's too complex. You usually hear about, like those guys, the way they do those investments over there. It's such a, people put it out to be such a foreign thing that's completely out of reach. And, I guess that's why we're here, right? To really break it down, make it simple, make it tangible. I think something that you haven't mentioned that I personally struggled with a lot when I was starting my career was that the idea that you need to have so many investments. Like you need to be saying, I have this and that and that and that and that, and yet you can have three and you're comfortable. Like you don't have to do everything that you hear about. Just because everybody's doing Coilex, another person is doing Bitcoin, you don't have to keep going with the wave, right?
As we had some. The thing with that, though, the thing with that is that you feel like you're missing out on something. Exactly. You feel like, oh my gosh, I think I need to be doing something. Like Quail Eggs was one of those where you're like, okay, I think I need to be at least researching on these Quail Eggs because I might be missing out on an opportunity of a lifetime.
I think you said it's fun because honestly, like with what's happening right now, I had FOMO. I truly had FOMO for these US stocks. But I think we'll talk about what really are the steps that you should be taking before jumping into the investment deep end. And I can let you lead with that. What are the steps that we should be taking?
Yeah. So the first to start, to begin.
Get start ideas, exactly.
Yes.
And to avoid jumping around all over the place.
Great. So I think the best place to start so that you're not, sort of just running about and trying to get everything that comes your way is begin by thinking about what kind of life do I want to live? What's the sort of thing that I want to do with my life? And what are my goals that are aligned to the kind of life that I want to live? What are those things that are important to me right now? What are my basic needs? What are the things that I must be able to afford? And I think secondly, you want to also look at what kind of lifestyle do I have now that I want to maintain for my foreseeable future? And then what am I dreaming about? What are those things that I want to be able to achieve? Whether that's supporting a certain cause somewhere, whether that's traveling every year or doing some interesting things that for you are a dream. And once you figure that out for yourself, then you're able to start thinking through the investment options that you can consider. So once you understand who you are and what you want to be able to achieve, then okay, this is the time horizon that I have. This is the amount of money that I have. This is my circumstance. I'm a mother of 2, I'm a single mom, or I am married with 5 children. And you accept your situation, because I find that a lot of times people look at others and they're like, yeah, that's the kind of life I want to live, and yet they don't really accept the situation that they are in, because the kind of choices that we make of the different investments will be dependent on our life situations and circumstances. And so the amount of money I have, my different responsibilities, the kind of dependence that I have, all those things are factors that I need to consider. And then I start thinking, okay, where's the place to start? I know what my goals are. I know what I need to start. Where do I begin? So you begin by thinking, okay, do I have my basic needs sorted out? And where can I start to save so that I ensure that my basic needs are taken care of? Which is, one of the places we start with the course is understanding what are the safe places I can invest my money, because my goal is not return, my goal is safety, and I need a safety net. And so we actually go through the different investment options. So I'll give one example. Maybe I can give two examples. So for your first sort of safety net, you're looking at something like your money market fund and a fixed deposit account, for example, and or a savings account, and you can decide, look, I need a safety net of a certain amount of money. One is for my emergency fund, and I want to save my 3 months expenses in an emergency fund where I make sure that at least my peace is upheld. Should I lose my job? Should something happen that is unforeseen? I have a certain amount of money that can cater for my expenses for the next 3 months. So where do you put that money? You can put that money in like a dollar account or a fixed deposit account in Kenya shillings or in the currency of the country you're in, or you can invest in a money market fund that gives you a slightly higher return. So that's just an example of where you would begin. So you begin with the basics. Once the basics are covered, then you can start going into more exotic, higher risk type opportunities once your basic needs are sorted out. But I find that a lot of times people will come and say, look, I've actually borrowed money. I don't have any savings, but I've borrowed money because I've seen an opportunity with Engine. This is just an example. Yeah. It's so low, it's government owned, it's never going to go under, and I want to borrow 2 million shillings and put it into Kengen to invest. Oh, Lord, have mercy.
And you don't know where rent is coming from.
I'm telling you.
If you lose your job, yeah.
Right? I've watched a very wealthy man who was ranking top 10 in the shareholder lists of several companies in this country, move from that level to handouts because of taking loans to invest in the stock market. Can you imagine?
That's incredible. That's crazy.
I know. Yeah. So that's that. We don't do that. You cannot do that. You can't take that sort of risk without making sure that there's certain things that are taken care of. And so we go through the detail of how do you think through the basics. Okay, so these are my safety net. This is the kind of life I want to live and I want to sustain it. So what should I invest in? And then this is my dream. And so for my dream, what should I be investing in so that I am able to achieve it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder, is there anything in between? Where do you think about things like vacations and taking my kids to a better school? Is that where you invest in things like Bitcoin and, GameStop, or is there a different category altogether for that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think I would think about it very simply and just the 3 levels at this stage, where if I want my children, so let's say my children right now, elementary, primary school level and kindergarten. So for me, right now, my thoughts are high school and uni. And so I'm like, okay, so for university, my dream is for them to go to any school in the world, whether that's in Nairobi or in Switzerland, depending on what their interests and desires are. And so for that, I can't invest in a fixed deposit account because it will not get me there. So for goals that are a bit far ahead, I want to invest in opportunities that can give me 2x, right? Exactly. So like 2 times. So that's the one when I hear of GameStop and I've heard of, this opportunity that is there, I do my analysis first of all. And then I'm like, let me invest a certain amount of money that even if I lost, it's okay. I still have more money available. But with this money, I think I can take a bit of risk because I have time to recover from it. And so the opportunities in those sorts of, what can I call them? Like unicorn type opportunities. Yeah, high risk. I can invest in those, but after having done my research, talk to several people who understand how to analyze these opportunities, and then make an informed decision on whether to proceed or not. Yeah.
And I think something to add there is that it's important that this was already in your plan, right? So it's not that FOMO is what made you decide to do this. Like it was already something. Yeah. Like I met somebody who they have a very interesting way of investing. So of course they have their basics sort of sorted out, and they've put aside a bit of money into IPOs specifically. And it doesn't matter which IPO, they'll do research here and there. And if that IPO makes money, that's the money they used to go on holiday. And if the IPO makes more money, then the holiday becomes better, And it's not changing their life much, their day-to-day life much, but they're using this opportunity to kind of make that extra, that 2x that you're talking about, but it was already in their plan. It's not that you're now jumping on the bandwagon because it's all over the news. And I mean, really, if you're hearing about something in the news, you probably missed it.
You've missed the bus. But I like that strategy a lot. Because they've already looked at their money and they're like, this is the amount of money I'm able to risk. And they've already selected the kind of risk they're willing to take because they've taken time to understand how IPOs work and they've seen a trend and they're like, you know what, I think I'm willing to take that risk. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I think, that's how I would personally approach all these alternative investments, whether it's, specific stocks or cryptocurrency or even, things like even, the way you're talking about borrowing money to invest in stocks, that's like extremely, extremely high risk. I don't think I would do it. But if I was to do it, that's, it's in that small category for that are very nice to have. And so do you want to go into, what are these sort of high risk investment opportunities? And because we've determined how, when to use them, do you want to talk a little bit about what they are and how to explore them?
Yeah. So one of the ones that I can think of straight off the bat, which you have mentioned, is like cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, anybody who put in money in January of 2020 into Bitcoin, I think has made well over 260% of the money that they put in. So things like cryptocurrency, I remember talking about Bitcoin itself actually several years ago. I think it was 2019. Mm-hmm. I did actually talk about Bitcoin on a video and said, guys, I think we need to pay attention. I know that cryptocurrency it's in its infancy, but look for money that is that aspirational type, you're willing to risk and you can actually invest in it. I'm not saying that you should now jump on now. It's just be aware that there's opportunities that come and will continue to be there. So cryptocurrency, things like private equity. So for example, a friend, a person that may start an opportunity or business that is disrupting a certain industry. Mm-hmm. And they may be doing really well or starting out, and you can see the potential in that industry and you can see the potential with the idea that they have. And you might find that they want to scale their business, but they don't have enough money to be able to do so. And they might start looking for funds from family, from banks, from other investors. And you could actually decide to, once you've looked at the opportunity and you think it's a good one and get advice from different people that are in your life, then you can actually consider putting in some money in that opportunity. So it's high risk, yes, but it also has the potential to do really, really well. Another one is, so there's other people's businesses, there's you also starting your business, because that can also be quite high risk. So you could decide, you know what, I see an opportunity in tech, or I see an opportunity if you're, a really serious scientist in biotechnology, and you can see that this thing is going to disrupt however we do this, medical, whatever. And you start your business, you fund it. I actually know somebody who's starting their own blockchain-powered real estate investment opportunity. So they're splitting the units into very small units and using blockchain technology to then sell small fractions of the real estate, making it available for young people to be able to invest. So that's real estate, yes, but the model is so different from what we know. It could either work or it could flop. So that's an example of something that's just so different from what we know, but it's an opportunity that you could potentially jump on. Incidentally, also real estate, where you borrow a lot of money, say 80% of the cost of the project, to do this real estate opportunity. That's also a high risk that can also give you really, really good returns, particularly if you go for low income to middle income type of units that can actually give you fantastic returns later on. So those are just a few examples of some things people can do that are high risk, and potentially high returns.
I like the potentially.
Potentially.
Because that's the big asterisk that you have to think about. Do you want to go over to Facebook for some of the questions? We have a question from Dorothy.
Okay.
What's your opinion, advice on pulling money for joint investments? Because this kind of falls into this space as well.
My advice on joint investments? I'm not sure I follow. Joint, what do you think she means?
So pulling money to make an investment with other people. I'm guessing like a chama or an investment group where you all come together and then you invest in something together.
Okay. So my first reaction to that is, I think joint investments give you an opportunity to be able to take advantage of opportunities that perhaps you wouldn't be able to if you decided you would go on your own. And so maybe it's a real estate project and the cost is prohibitive. I mean, it's expensive. You know, you need 75 million shillings maybe, and you only have 10. Or you only have 2. And by coming together, you're able to take advantage of the opportunity. Just a bit of a caveat there, because whoever you're doing this jointly with, you must be of same mind, same understanding, you know, of why we're getting into this. Are we getting into it for the short term? Are we looking to speculate? Are we looking to hold long term? For what period of time? How are we sharing? And then have agreements in place that stipulate exactly what you're agreeing verbally, because I have seen many challenges with joint investments. And so you must be involved in the whole process. There must be documentation that is legit, you know, with a lawyer, and get everything watertight so that as you're getting into the opportunity and you change your mind. So for example, things like, I want to exit and the project is not over. So what happens?
What do you do?
You know, those sorts of things need to be detailed. If you want to exit, this is the discount you'll have to lose, or the haircut, or whatever, you know, a loss that you're going to have to make because we don't have cash. We're going to have to go deeper into our pockets as the other partners to give you money so that you can exit. You know, so those sorts of clauses must actually be contained in that agreement that covers everything and every scenario that could take place. Fortunately, because we've had lots of joint sort of partnerships, a lot of commercial lawyers know exactly what they would incorporate into agreements such as that, just so that you're covered in your investment. So go in with your eyes wide open. Don't just agree verbally, meet on Saturdays, put your money together, and jointly just put your names on there, because it could be a disaster as well. So it's a great way to invest if you don't have all the money, but just be wary of how do you deal with disagreements, exits, and things like that.
Yeah, there's another thing that, you know, I think is important to think about when you're doing joint investments is that you should not do joint investments to do an investment you can do on your own. You know, you shouldn't be in a chamas that you can invest in a money market fund. It doesn't it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to take all these risks, you know, and to go through all that turmoil that Rina has explained just to get a 10% return. You know, you should really be doing something that's otherwise inaccessible. Like she's mentioned, you know, doing real estate where the project is millions and millions of shillings, and it's only possible when you join with others. I think something about joint investments, you know, we hear so many stories about chamas that have done so well and have become, you know, the transcenturies of the world, and, you know, people with huge balance sheets, and that's possible. But it's also important to know that you're really starting a business with these people. And so when I started my first business, one of my shareholders told me, a shareholding agreement is worse than a marriage, because you cannot get out of it unless both of you want. But in a marriage, you can divorce.
I've actually never thought about it that way. I've never thought about it that way, but it's true.
It's true. It's almost impossible. It's really almost impossible to get out of a shareholders agreement. So you have to be sure that it's really the way to go. I think that's the way to answer that question.
Let me just add one more thing with joint investment. There's a joint investment, and I might get bashed for saying this, but there's a joint investment that I honestly, sincerely do not understand. And that's the merry-go-round. Like that one for me, I'm just like, because what are we doing? Like, why? I mean, really, what are we doing? I am coming to meet you on a Saturday to give you my money.
Yeah.
And then you go and spend it, and then we give this other person the next week. I mean, can you imagine how much risk we are adding to? First, I'm earning 0%, zero, okay?
That's actually the part that doesn't make any sense. No interest, nothing. Why?
No.
You might as well put your money in a mattress, honestly.
Yes.
You know, that's when I agree with you. Be bashed or not be bashed.
Yeah. So if you're in a merry-go-round and you're out there and you're listening to this, please find another way to save money. But the merry-go-round doesn't make sense.